Leadership does not live in books, job titles, or good intentions. Leadership only exists in practice. And that is what this show and this particular episode are all about. So welcome back to another episode of Being at Work. I'm your host, Andrea Butcher, and today we are talking about what it takes to turn leadership from an idea into a daily practice. My guest is Caryn O'Sullivan, founder and CEO of Drapery Street. Caryn's business and the way in which she runs it is such an impeccable example of this. Leadership only shows up when it's practiced through the systems you build, the conversations you are willing to have, and the self-awareness you bring to the role. So listen into this conversation as we explore how frameworks that she has put into place, like Dare to Lead and EOS, help leaders move from theory to action. Why senior leaders create an environment for others to succeed, and why courage, speaking up, rumbling, listen to how they talk about rumbling in their business, and being direct, all are such a critical part of the job. At the heart of all of it is a simple idea. If leadership isn't being practiced, it doesn't exist. So Caryn O'Sullivan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for having me here. It's a topic I'm passionate about and has made such a difference in our own company. So I even loved how you started it and so many things I wrote down about systems and courage and self-awareness. But at the end, you talked about practice in two ways, a practice, and then how I've used it a lot is practicing. And I think both of those are so important. And really this whole journey started with Dare to Lead, because it was the first time I heard leadership can be learned and it can be practiced. And it's just like anything, experience matters. And so you got to get in the reps. And I think we all grow up thinking leaders are born. And I've just learned that's simply not true. It's just practicing and then putting a framework and learning a lot about yourself. The self-awareness piece is so key to that.
Where were you in your entrepreneurial journey when you heard the Brené Brown quote?
Oh, I love that question. I was utterly confused. I was just like, my heart's in the right place. I don't understand why when I say do this, people don't do it. Like, I've thought it out. There's a good reason. And I just had to go on this really multi-year journey of learning how people receive information is different based upon their personality type, their childhood, all of that. And that's where, I think a lot of leaders are turned off by maybe her use of the word vulnerability. But that really spoke to me as well, is I was not a vulnerable person. I took pride that I would do it all alone. And it wasn't till I started letting leaders in my business that we got better, that my viewpoint was so made better with their contribution. And so she opened my mind to that concept because I was stuck. They talk about pivot points in your business, 500,000, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million. And I think 2 million is that you can't do it all alone.
Right.
So if you're going to grow, you're going to have to start to rely on others. And so her book came at that time.
Okay. How did that show up for you at that time?
She gives you so many of the tools. So it was starting to use the terminology, hey, we're rumbling.
Yep.
And her greatest gift is that it's not going to go well the first time because you're doing this the first time. So just say that. It's like a upfront contract or something. You just say, hey, I'm learning to be vulnerable. Here's how I'm feeling going into this conversation. And we may need to follow up. If you leave feeling this way, then let's just set a next meeting. And I can't tell you, they did go poorly, but when we circled back and you just get to know each other. And so we're learning that we're at our most healthy as a company when we're learning to rumble effectively. So we now have in our core values, rumbling is greater than sitting in anger.
Oh, that's so
I'm like,
good.
if you're mad and you just stay mad, that's on you.
Right.
but let's learn to talk about it in a framework that we can both show up in
Well,
curiosity.
and it sets you up for hard conversations, doesn't it? It's like it sends this message, "Hey, we're gonna rumble. We're going to." Like,
That's
prepare yourself
healthy.
for that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just gave me the tool. The other key thing is it's all started with when I was on this journey of this trying to expand was the personality index or culture index. And it was the first time someone statistically showed me how I operate.
Mm.
And I loved the bell curve of this way of thinking. You're actually in the 2%. So it is so unusual. And so that started the journey of, oh, I think this way, but only 2% of the people do. It's my specific strength. So we talk a lot about your strength is your greatest blind spot. The bigger the strength, the bigger the blind spot. So
Mm.
when you're sitting there going, why can't you figure this out? It's probably because it's your greatest strength and you don't know how to teach it yet because it's so intuitive to you.
How does that show up in your leadership? What's that look like? Give me an example.
So it started with, we have been on about a 7-year journey of really, I call it our selling system, but it's our consultative system of, because I had a deal that I put my heart into and they just walked away without like any skin in the game, any
Mm.
caring about. And I was like, well, I don't want to stop putting my heart into
Mm.
these meetings. I want to be a company that is authentically doing what's right for the customer. But customers have been so used to getting battered that they have this shield up.
Yeah.
So we had to learn how to build that trust with customers. So that really started this journey. And I had to understand I was getting through, but I didn't know how. So to teach my team, I had to be like, what is it I'm doing? And
Mm.
that's where partnering, in my case with Emily Shaw at Lucian, we started to be like, what is this process I'm doing? And then let's map it out. And then I started teaching it. And then we started improving it. And everyone was making their own. So that's been the long journey.
Yeah.
First, what am I even doing that's working?
Yeah.
And then bringing in that help to get some objectivity
Yeah.
and areas I was weak on.
Yeah. So raving fan of Emily Shaw.
Yes,
We
yes.
share that. And so Sandler, Dare to Lead, foundational systems. I know also EOS, StoryBrand. You consider those your like 4 pillars.
Yes, I've set up this, people talk about a tech stack. We have a leadership stack of these
Mm.
theories we use to operate our company. And it's the overall framework is 2. I used to say it was EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Traction is the book. And what I love now is we've been doing that also probably 6, 7 years, is you can feel it. When you
Mm.
feel head back, like held back and you're ready to run, that's you not getting traction. And we're like, we are so ready and we have this thing holding us back. And so it can be people who aren't a culture fit. It could be the lack of system. It could be your inability to delegate. We're holding on so tight and vulnerability shows up. I wasn't willing to delegate because it means you're relying on someone to do something that could impact you. And so you have to work through all of that. So EOS is that framework. And then Brene Brown is really and Dare to Lead is our communication
Mm.
framework. And so she has a list near the end that is 10 things that you need to make sure you review to have a rumble. And so when I first started this practice, when I first started practicing this practice, I had to read that list. And it could sometimes take me 2 weeks to get out of my own assumptions and anger. And so
Mm.
we talk about you have to get the mat out. And that's what
Oh,
you do
yeah.
to a mirror or
Totally.
your spouse, or people don't want to hear it all the time. So I'd rotate who I'd help get the mat out. And then I could show up curious. But now I can do that in a half hour, right? Like I've learned how to, oh, this is a me. I'm having my mad reaction. Let's get through that. And now I can ask the questions.
Yeah. Wow. That's really great.
So that is the top. And then in marketing, it's StoryBrand. How do we have the customer? They are the hero. We are a guide. And that is our entire framework and culture.
Mm.
And so how do we get heard? Like, we are obsessed with window treatments because if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. People keep these for 20 years. It is a big investment. So if I am just an order taker, you're not, you might as well order online, but you're going to keep it for 20 years. So wouldn't it be nice to have a guide say, here's what I've learned over, 4,000 windows a year over the last 20
Yeah.
years. Would you be curious about any of that experience?
Yes.
So that, and then our accounting one is Profit First. That's been a great tool. And then this HR is obviously Dare to Lead, but it's also Working Genius
Mm-hmm.
and understanding what it takes to make a complete team. And there's kind of these 6 buckets. It's a lot of DISC. It's a lot of how do you get to know yourself so that if you have a certain personality type that may be in conflict with another, all you can do is control your reaction. And if you struggle with that, we don't say you don't ever get to talk to that person. You just are aware of it and you work up your skill set to work with them. You practice your practice.
And so these systems have been in the business now for how long?
I would say we started this journey about 7 years ago.
So what's the impact of that? Because this is a long-term commitment.
It is.
This has become the fabric of your culture.
And what we're learning is because I had to do a few things. I had to learn it myself. At the same time, we were building this consultative process. And it doesn't necessarily have to take everyone 7 years, but when you're changing a mindset, when you're changing a mindset of leadership is born, when you're changing a mindset of customer is always right, you do what they say. When you change a mindset, we don't talk about budget. Like we have to break through all of these things. And so it's just how quickly it takes to shift. So phase 1, me learning it about myself and teaching my management team took 7 years.
Yeah.
We're now putting into practice how when someone joins our company, we see this a lot. If they come from a culture of a company, say in restaurants, they overhire. So you're on call, so you call off or you're sick to get that day off. We're like, no, we want a communication. Instead, we're not going to overhire. We're not going to overschedule. We're going to give you a full-time job, but you need to learn not to call off and instead say, hey, I know I just started, but in 2 weeks, there's this thing that's very important to me. Can I go? Right? So you have to start to teach people these tools because our whole structure teaches the opposite, I feel like. So we're learning to give people grace, but be clear when they enter. And if we see the pattern of calling off that is out of the norm, we start to have more difficult conversations like, are you open to changing this pattern?
Right. Well, we're gonna rumble.
We're gonna rumble. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So what is it 7 years ago that drove you to put these things in place? I mean, is this, and give us even context, like when did you start the business, and was this intentional? Like, I want to put these systems in place, or did it happen upon it?
And I love that you're asking this because so my role in the company and my gift is visionary. And so this goes into how did I know this was an issue that had to be solved? So we opened 20 years ago. I am an accountant by trade and a finance person. And it was about 5 years. We sell window treatments of all kinds. It was about 5 years into the business that I'm like, oh, I'm in sales. And it was a dirty word. Like if you're an accountant, you think used car, old school. And I started Lucian Sandler then, and it didn't take, but that started to change my mindset of, okay. And then I had this experience of losing something that I put so much time into, being like, well, that's not fair to me, but I don't want to stop it because that's what people are drawn to.
Right.
So I went back to them. And so my thing is I will have these questions out there until I find the right solution. So I had a question of, why is it I'm still doing everything? Why is it that I haven't delegated this? And Dare to Lead started to answer that for me. I'm holding on too tight to a lot of things. I am not a vulnerable person. And what I was wearing as a badge of honor was actually a weakness. So I have the gift of being open to that feedback
Yeah.
and being like, that's it. And it doesn't
Right.
affect my sense of self. It's just the needed growth and the needed answer. And then I'll test it. And then we call it layering of knowledge or layering of learning. I couldn't put into practice the higher level things I'm doing now, helping people get to their why and their purpose and understand themselves, until I learned the basic of, boy, I just had to learn to be vulnerable and test that for a while to figure that out. So when I say 7 years, that's to get to like a really good place.
To where you are now.
And I think it's fascinating that people expect that in a plumber, you have an apprenticeship and then you work your way up to master. Well, it's no different with leadership.
Right.
You have a basic level and then you keep growing in that. My brother is in the consulting field and he's like, what you're doing is really interesting. He's like, you're setting yourself up for retirement with no decision to retire. Like, my people are practicing leadership to take over. And so I'll be retired because I'll be retired. They'll be like, we got this. Please come in once a quarter.
Right.
And it's already starting to happen because we're practicing it now. So that it's been a delightful journey as we got past that first. We're going to start rumbling and changing. That's not a bad word.
Yeah.
It's a communication.
And so, you attribute where the business is today largely to doing this work. And where is the business today? Like, what is the impact of this?
So I love my accounting brain because I really do. Even these things I put to a bit of an equation.
Yeah.
And so when I was at a conference and it was a window treatment and they talked about these thresholds that I already mentioned, the 500,000, the million, the 2 million, I got it. Right. And so we're now at that 5 million and we have to focus on systems because everything was still too nuanced that I wasn't building this safe learning. It's like I am now an expert with 20 years experience and thousands of windows, and I need a way to guide people and to bring me in when necessary. So
right.
The 2 to 5 was practicing this and allowing other people in. Okay. And we just learned how better we are as a company when we use these different brains. And the most fascinating pivotal meeting, it was my leadership team, and we did a practice. I don't want to keep using that word, but we did
like an exercise.
An exercise. Thank you. That's the word. Where we filled out the box of what we're good at and love to do, good at but don't love, and we filled those out. And when I read my love, it was the opposite of one of my other people. Her love was my like least favorite thing, and I couldn't believe that someone loved doing that, just like she couldn't believe. And like I remember that moment, like, oh my gosh, you like to do this. This is amazing. So we added to our mission that everyone is living in their genius. It is a journey to find that. But when you get to have your job in your genius, it is so fun. And people think it's their passion or their interest. It's like, no, it's your skill set. But you have to be open to a lot of self-awareness and self-discovery to even get there. Absolutely. And then to be like, okay, well, what's my opposite? Because that's my weakness.
Right.
So the 2 to 5, I'd say, was that change.
Okay.
It was starting to let other people in. I can't build a company that is just me and grow.
Yeah. And
so now we're at this 5, and the 5 to 10 is starting to systematize and have efficiency, but without taking in the passion and the sincerity behind we're going to have this for 20 years. We want what's right for you, the customer. But we've added, it's the customer, it's the company, and it's the employees. If you have all 3 of those, it's good for. What an amazing product and system and concept. So by having all 3, whenever we do anything, it's just a win all around. And so that is what's bringing us into the next phase and the next growth.
Yeah, it's setting you up, isn't it, for your next?
Yes.
For sure. So why don't more CEOs get this?
It blows me away because, again, like I'm finding the word vulnerability, just they shut it down. And so I was so excited to see at conferences in the building community, men starting to talk about
Yeah.
this type of, and they don't necessarily use the word vulnerability, but understanding your employee.
Hmm.
And even in, we install window treatments. I have some that are super detail oriented, but maybe aren't great with clients. And I have some that are fun and social and the clients love them, but maybe aren't as detail oriented.
Mm.
And I find a lot of cultures like want to beat up, right?
Mm.
Like so be more detail oriented. That is such an unhelpful management. Be more detail. Like, what does that do for them?
Yes. What does it even mean?
Right. So if you can understand yourself, we have the win. If they're like, oh, I struggle with paying attention to detail,
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to bring the designer in to say, hey, do you see anything that I'm missing? Right? You start to get tools of people who may help you in the company. And instead of thinking, oh, they're checking up on me, no, they're a tool to make sure I leave this successfully.
Right.
My manager is a tool, and that's that senior leadership thing that you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier on in the introduction of it's okay, right? It's part of, and when
Right.
they don't need that tool anymore, then they're moving up because they found their systems to take care of that.
Yeah. I suspect that's something that you talk with your senior leaders about a lot, like ensuring that they understand that role that they play.
Yes. We talk about that a lot, and we're so fortunate when we did the Working Genius to find that we have all six in our team,
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
there's maybe two that aren't backed up.
Yeah.
One is my kind of seeing the future, and but I'm like, here's what I know. We're going to put a process to it, but because I've been freed up of the other things, my next step is to understand what it is I do so naturally
Right.
and start to put a process to it, and so that it can be done by other people.
There's throughout our entire conversation so far, Caryn, it keeps coming back to self-awareness. Like I
Yes.
noticed I saw this in myself. I felt this. Or do you all talk about self-awareness? I mean, no doubt that's a part of all of these systems that you have, like pointing people back to themselves.
So that, I want to apologize to everyone I managed, like the first 15 years of the company, we'll get our 20-year, because I didn't understand any of this. And so, yes, we've started talking about it a lot, and we're starting to talk about that is our greatest questioning strategy when we're looking to hire someone.
Yeah.
If there is no self-awareness, if there's only just blaming others, and that, then that's not going to be a culture fit, because you
Mhm.
have to, especially with all the changes coming in the future. I'm excited because we're building a culture that adapts, and the people who stay at Drapery Street like to grow and adapt. And that's okay if that's not your happy place,
Yeah.
right? It is a very specific type of person that's like, yeah, keep pushing me, keep growing. But that's what we're going to be. And so we're getting comfortable with, it's not a judgment on that person or us.
Right.
Let's just, acknowledge it, and that's how we're going to grow.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. And then there's this middle tier that it's just never been talked about.
Mm.
They're open to it. They have no idea. So as we just say, as long as you're open to learning, we're on the journey with you.
Mm.
And there just has to be some growth. I was listening to a book
Mm.
on tape, and they just talked about fast growth and scaling quickly.
Mm.
And I'm like, yes, but where's your why?
Yeah.
Right? It is the employee who you let go because they weren't going to do it quick enough. Where are they in your mission and your plan? Like, why are we
Mhm.
all getting to $1 billion? Right? Yeah, I'm like,
Right.
let's make work fun and good for everybody.
Yeah. What's your why?
I love that question. It is now that it is getting this mission out that you can be profitable, you can have a nice life, but you could also still build other people up and build up your employees.
Mm.
And if you add them to your vision and your focus, you'll have a better company.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just, and I love that people are starting to talk about that. That's my why. And, I'm just in a great place I don't have high needs.
Yeah.
And so I tell my people, I'm like, when you're looking to join a company, If that person needs a lot of cash from the company to sustain their lifestyle, that is a red flag,
Mm-hmm.
because some of this takes reinvesting. And if you're barely paying the bills, so
Mm-hmm.
that is a stability. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have to have your financial and your emotional house in order, and then you can build this powerful company of growth-minded people. But it doesn't mean they're not moving at my speed, so I'm going to let them go, because if they are growing, it's super exciting and rewarding to see them grow.
So have you defined like what success looks like for you? Do you know like what your end game is?
Yes and no. I mean, I love my particular strength, which is I know I'm going to retire eventually. So I'm going to practice it now. So we literally experiment with, you just did,
Yeah.
we experiment. What would it be like if I take a 2-week
Yeah.
vacation?
Yeah.
And okay, well, why don't I try and grow that a week every year? So it's no different than before you radically change your business, drop the pebble, see how that works before you roll down the boulder. So I do that in life. So a lot of the things that are working in business are coming over. So it's my why is it's about the payback, I guess, for me is when I see someone who has all that talent and maybe wouldn't have been noticed or given that leg up, that
Feels
they're
good.
growing and we see them moving forward. And that's just exciting. So that's my why.
Is there a particular story that comes to mind when you think about someone that you saw the potential and you saw it emerge?
So, I mean, my senior leadership team came from food service
Wow.
and bartending. And it's not even that I saw, I gave them the opportunity because my leadership style back then was figure it out, because that's how I like to do things. Just leave me alone, let me figure it out,
Yeah.
and I'll do that. Well, that was them. My gift was if you figured it out and you grew, I'd compensate you. So I think that's the missing piece is people will let people do more and not compensate them for the
Right.
growth. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, you're sales manager because you've been managing sales. So and I hadn't had this realization until now, like they're doing it.
They're
So just
doing
pay
it.
them for it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
then that incents them to continue to add value. And
And then it tells the story
it
of
tells the story.
there's so many companies, well, they said they'd make me owner, they said they do that, and they don't.
Yeah.
And so we do. And we are working on our recruiting, like, no, if you do it, we're going to compensate you. But it used to be only people who could figure out how to do it succeeded. And now we're learning there's people who want to do it, but maybe need some help brainstorming and figuring out the right.
Yeah.
And so we're offering that now. And that was what I needed the other managers to bring, because I that was my blind spot because it was so intuitive to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you recognize like I'm going to have to do something different if I want the
Yes.
company in a different place. Again, back to the self-awareness.
It's the self-awareness. And somebody told me, I think it was Emily, who said, then it's going to work. And so you're going to keep doing it. So I think that's the
Right.
biggest story. Just try it
Uh-huh.
because it worked. So I just kept investing in it and it keeps getting better and better and better.
And keep going.
Yes. Yes.
I suspect on this now like 20-year journey that you've had, congrats on to that.
Thank you.
by the
Thank you.
way.
It's an exciting milestone.
But there's been so many ups and downs. What has kept you going?
It's fun.
It's fun.
And I'm a better human. I'm a better parent. I'm a better friend. I'm a better aunt. And so it feels good to, and just this time of life, like I get to have all these experiences that are coming together. So that absolutely feeds me and keeps me going. During COVID, I was like, I'd watch people gardening and doing all these things. And I'm like, I almost thought I was broken. Like, why don't I like any of that? What is my gardening? And it's learning. I just love the learning and the new. And when we travel, I love a new place. And so that's the self-awareness, like, do it when something's going wrong, but do it when it's right. Like, why has this brought me such joy?
So good.
And you're like, okay, I want to do more of that.
Yeah.
So that was the latest improvement on this journey we're on, is we talked a lot about our errors, but I think it was the science of scaling or reset was focus on the bright spots. This customer was thrilled. What did we do right? Let's keep doing that. And so that is this year's, how do we replicate the good, not just avoid the bad?
Yeah. What are you most excited about?
I am most excited for my team and just seeing where they're all headed. I'm most excited for my next journey because, like I said, I already started experimenting.
Yeah.
So I know when they're ready, I'll be ready. Because if it happened today, I'd be like, what am I going to do? But I'm starting to figure it out. So I'm just excited for all that's still to come, but very content with where we're at now too.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that.
Do you have an upcoming adventure or something that you're planning to do this year you're excited about?
Well, we just came off of kind of my trap was we did a 2-week cruise in January and then a 2-week trip to Australia in February.
Oh, wow.
And we were scared going into it like, hey, we haven't done this before. How are we going to communicate? That type of thing. And it was so wonderful. And I came back and they were like, we did like having you gone. We had some great manager meetings
right.
that allowed us to step up.
Isn't that interesting?
Now we're glad you're back. And I was like, okay, well, let's start building that in. I don't mind leaving once a quarter.
Absolutely. Well, and what does it do for the times when you are there and you are in the room? Does it impact how you show up, and does it impact how you jump in?
It brought self-awareness. So it built a lot of trust. My reaction to them saying that, some people might get offended. And I love that about myself, that I have enough trust in me and in them that instead we had our all staff meeting we have every Tuesday. And I distract us a lot because I know so much about window treatments. They say something, I'm like, well, what about this instance?
Yeah.
And so afterwards, I was like, ooh, I get the sense I really disrupted that meeting. And so we then talk about, like, my first minute is good. Here's a bigger issue. But we start to lose people after 5 minutes. So instead, I want to show people, like, here's these other concepts. We're going to go offline and solve it, and we'll put in an update in Teams. So it's just that back and forth, and them knowing that I'm open to this feedback and that there's a right time for my strength and a wrong time. And it's not every day because that's chaos.
And it's not every day because that's chaos. Yeah. So again, with the awareness of what does the situation and the team need from me right now?
Right now. And it's not always my brainstorming, which is my joy.
Again, that's like find your team, just like you find people to share your mad.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And they have to be an offset. Again, it's the stronger your strength. I love Working Genius because you got 2 that you're really strong at, 2 you're mid at, and 2 you're weak at. And so build that team. And so when I do retire, we know we may want someone with that strength as we look for someone to add to the team.
So I suspect you are a galvanizer for sure in Working Genius.
No, I was the 2 I's,
Really?
Innovative and yes. Galvanizing is my mid.
Okay.
We learned
because I could see you getting people excited about things, which is what galvanizing
I
is.
get people who think like me excited. I scare people who don't. They're like, oh my gosh, where's she leading us to? This is going to be chaos. What's going to happen? And I'm like, we'll be fine. So that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better at galvanizing all and allaying fears because I need the vision. I need to know where we're headed. If I was going to stay with the company, you better keep moving and moving fast because and thankfully this whole next 10 years with AI and robotics and all of that, we're going to need my mindset to stay at the forefront. So it's very timely. Yeah.
So as we start to conclude, for the business leaders, the CEOs in particular, the business owners listening to this conversation, what do you hope that they will be inspired by?
I hope that they just start. That's the biggest message. It is a practice, and it means that it's going to be tough at first and you're going to have fumbles, but that's okay. That means you're getting better and you're committed to it. So I'd say just start, just pick up Dare to Lead and skip the word vulnerability, but learn about that. And then you have to understand yourself. Do the DISC test, do the exercise of the quadrants with your management team. understand your joy and your weakness. And I think so many people are too scared to look at their weakness because it's failure, and it's not. It's just,
Yes.
you can't have your talent without that. And so you just have to get okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like taking the armor off. It can feel
Yes.
really uncomfortable.
Yes. It's scary. The first time you rely, like we sold enough that I could jump into sales and do that. And now we're growing past where I can jump in and save, but it feels really good at the same time. But it's so scary for me, but it feels really good at the same time.
Absolutely. Isn't that growth?
Yes, it is.
Well, Caryn, thank you so much. I'm so inspired by your story, and I'm so glad that you are telling the story to inspire others.
Thank you. And thank you for having the platform for this and this whole mindset to gather these types of thoughts and leadership styles. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. It is my why.
It is your why. Exactly.
Thank you for seeing that. If our listeners want to connect with you, where can they find you? And where can they find more about Drapery Street and the great work you're doing?
Yes, no, I appreciate that. Drapery Street's in Carmel and Fishers, Indiana. You can find us at draperystreet.com. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. The best is to email me, csullivan@draperystreet.com, because that way that's my to-do list that I look at and will respond. And just happy to help anyone onto this journey, because it does make it fun. And we work a lot. So how about we make it enjoyable for everybody?
Absolutely. Oh, so good. Thank you, Caryn. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
As we close out this conversation, I just want to say this is so affirming of the work that we do every single day at Abundant Empowerment, the work I've done throughout my career. Leadership doesn't live in good intentions. It lives in practice. I love how clearly Caryn showed that through the reps, the systems, and the courage to have the conversations that most people avoid, the courage to rumble. My biggest takeaways were these. Leadership takes time. Frameworks only work when they are lived over time. And senior leadership is about creating an environment where other leaders can grow, so the business can move forward without everything depending on you. We help leaders and teams do that at Abundant Empowerment, build the habits, the systems, the self-awareness to move leadership from theory into daily behavior so that culture gets stronger, people thrive, and results follow. So if this episode sparked something for you and you are ready to equip your team to move the business forward, please reach out to me. I'd love to explore how we can partner with you on this journey. Thank you for listening to Being at Work, and I'll see you next time.